I'll call the meeting to order. Did we post everything correctly?
Everything's been posted according to law.
All right, roll call, please.
President Johnson.
Here.
Trustee Alexander.
Here.
Trustee Holm.
Here.
Trustee Nugent. Here. Trustee Renucci.
Here.
Trustee Smalling.
Here.
Trustee Wisniewski.
Here.
John, you don't have anything to say? Okay, we're not going to do citizen participation since there's no one else here. Consent agenda. One motion and a second will approve all the following items. Any item may be pulled from the list and voted on separately.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Questions?
I would like, I have a,
All right, go ahead. All right, we got a second. 40.
I have a question in regards to the exterior painting and signing on the building. I looked at the bid, everything looks fine to me. Excuse me. The only question I have is, they really didn't give a start date. It just says early, and I'm just curious how early?
So I'm told if we can get the contract signed before the end of the year, not only does that lock in the price, but that gets us towards the top of the list in spring. So I don't have a specific start date because it's going to depend on Mother Nature.
That was kind of going to be my point, that I don't want to see them starting too early.
Understood.
Where we start
Neither
having
do I.
failures. So that as long as we're on the same page with that, then that's fine.
Yep.
Other questions or discussion on the motion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. All right, miscellaneous business. Item 1, consider 2025 through 2026 insurance renewal for property, liability, auto, et cetera. So you see Eileen's memo there about what has changed and the fiscal considerations. Eileen, anything you want to highlight?
Really, that just overall, the insurance went up $8,869, and that is attributed to the workman's compensation insurance. Our mod factor went up slightly. We were at pretty much the lowest possible mod factor, so we've had very low level of work-related injuries, and we've had just a very slight uptick, but that did increase the rates. So that increase really has nothing to do with rate increases by the insurer. And I will say we've been extremely pleased with the League of Wisconsin Municipalities Insurance Program. You guys are aware of some of our initial claims, and they handle them extremely well. As far as a decision tonight, I'm looking for approval of the proposal that was provided, but I'm also asking if the board is interested in increasing the limits for property insurance. They were recommending an increase from $4 million to $5 or $6 million. I would agree with an increase because of the rise in construction costs and prices we've seen recently with inflation.
When was it last set?
That $4 million was when we jumped on their insurance program. So that was 2 years ago. That would have been 2023 that we started on their insurance.
What would you all prefer, 5 or 6?
I would prefer 5 because it's cheaper, but I think that we need to understand, do we have to go to 6? Is that inclusive? Is 5 inclusive? Which one is going to be better? I'm guessing that you or Jason will probably know better than we do.
I generally feel $5 million should be sufficient, especially because we felt $4 million was in 2023. But I just think because of inflation, it's a smart suggestion. They're looking at the village's size in general too and saying, we think you should bump it up.
Is it possible maybe to ask Ray what his thoughts are?
I don't think Ray would have an opinion that would be helpful. He might be able to talk a little bit about real estate, but this is also, we have facilities like the wastewater treatment plant and things that he would not deal with,
Gotcha.
so.
Okay.
I tend to agree. I think 5 million would be good. The other question I had, excuse me, in regards to our, the workman's comp now changing, the mod factor changing, it's going to take us a couple 2 or 3 years to get back down to that line again. So that means we won't be going back to that. It'll still cost us a little more than the next 2 to 3 years, correct?
Yes, that is correct. It's a 3-year look back when they calculate that mod factor.
Given that, I would say go to the 5 million if everybody's inclined. No, I'll make a motion in a minute. And then I'd make a motion to approve the proposal provided by R&R Insurance for February 1st, 2025 through January 31st, 2026. Also increasing the property insurance limit from 4 to 5 million.
I'll second that.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any questions or discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, item 2, consider 2025 Municipal Code Enforcement LLC contract.
Pretty much the same as since we entered into contract with them in 2023. The only thing different in this one is the rate is staying the same. She's just been putting in a lot more hours than anticipated here in the village, so she suggested that we move that up to 20 hours from 15, and she's probably been averaging 20 now. So,
Is that what we budgeted for? An increase in hours?
I put an increase in there based on her rate. I thought her rate was going to go up, so there was an increase in the budget, yes.
I'll make a motion to approve the 2025 Municipal Code Enforcement LLC contract.
I'll second it.
All right, motion and a second. Any questions or discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 3, direction regarding liquidated damages for School Street reconstruction project. Jason?
So this memo is really to serve as a kind of a wrap-up of School Street. Hopefully you all have had the chance to drive down School Street at some point in the last couple of months, because it really, we were fortunate enough that the grass could take hold before winter set in, so it really looks nice. We really improved that area. Unfortunately, most of what we did you can't see because it's underground. But I'm very proud of how the project turned out, and in the end, the contractor did not hit the substantial completion date, which was set in the contract, so that's why it's up to you all if we want to enforce those liquidated damages. As you see by my memo and Tim's memo, we are not recommending that. Really, asphalt contractors did their best to complete this project on time, and unfortunately, they did have some issues with the sub, as we all know. But they did the best they could to get it done, and in the end, we did get a great final product, as I mentioned. You will notice in here in my table there that we were reimbursed for the monies we had spent to make the resident on School Street whole outside of the insurance claim. So that money came back to us. But other than that, you can see project costs came pretty close to the approved amount, within $7,000. And the contractor wasn't hitting us with change orders left and right, even though we did change a few things. So there's some value to that. So that's why we're really not recommending that we move forward with liquidated damages.
How was the contractor to work with, Jason?
So again, as we know, there were some challenges with one of the subs, but the general did do their best to alleviate some of those issues and try to get, things to move along as smoothly as possible.
What trade was the challenge in?
Sewer and water utility, underground,
Because it was a sub for sewer and water?
yes.
So-
We're going to make a little notation of that?
And it was a newer company who wasn't quite ready, for a job of this magnitude. So in the end, though, the infrastructure we did receive is up to standard.
So something Jason and I have talked about is kind of a, lessons learned in this project is usually when we do these projects, we've relied on the contractors to do the communication to the residents, and that's not always gone very well. So we're talking about then what does that look like for our future projects? How do we take control of that back and do that?
And the post office.
I know there's a couple items that, out of people's yards that they pulled. Were those returned? I think there was a couple of hitching posts, and then there was, I think, an issue with the mailbox.
So all mailbox issues have been resolved. The 2 hitching posts in question were removed, and at one point, they were given to the neighboring residents that wanted them. After that, I don't know what happened to them. And they have not come back to the right-of-way. I do know that. And I had offered it up if they were willing to do that at some point, that we could, have that conversation, but no one's come forward, so. But the mailbox in question was addressed.
I'm in agreement with you that it looks great. I drove up and down it and walked up and down it a couple of times, and I think it's awesome. And I'm with you, not to pursue liquidated damages.
Be a lot easier cleaning up snow now?
Yeah, it's always nicer, not only for snow, but for, stormwater, right? It's going to go right where we want it to, so. And we've got some more sidewalk.
There was one property that they were going to do their own driveway apron. Was that complete?
It is not. I actually spoke with the gentleman last week. He was hoping to still get it in this winter, but I honestly don't see that happening. He still owes us the revocable right-of-way agreement. There actually were 2 of those in this project. One of the residents has signed it, and I intend to bring them both to you together for approval. I'm just waiting on the second agreement to be signed, and then I will bring those back to
Do
you.
you see a difficulty in getting that?
I'm hoping not. I've been verbally told that it would happen, but it just hasn't yet. And, we'll see where the concrete itself goes, if that has to go to a next step. I don't know what that next step is, but, I think if we give them some time in spring, and if it doesn't happen, then we may need to take next steps.
I was going to say, you can almost guarantee it's going to have to be poured in spring now. I don't think it's going to be done now. So you're probably talking April, if, depending.
So we'll do a formal closeout once we get all the billing from Tim?
Yeah, so as I mentioned here, Tim did confirm with me that we will not be exceeding his approved amount. So I shouldn't need to bring anything else back to you other than those 2 agreements for approval.
So we don't really need to if we're in agreement of not pursuing, we don't need to make a motion to not do something?
Correct.
So are we in agreement? All right. Thank you very much. All right, moving on to ordinances and resolutions. Consider Resolution 2024-14, petitioning the Secretary of Transportation for airport improvement aid. This has to be a public hearing, so I will open the public hearing. You see the memo. You see the memo here from Jason and the resolution. Any questions before I close the public hearing?
I would actually, just for the record, like to read off the list of projects.
Please, go ahead.
Okay, so again, this is a list of projects that we need to pass this resolution to be in our funding petition to be eligible for federal and state funding, shared costs, funding for the airport. And that list includes mark airfield pavements, airfield pavement maintenance, turf runway maintenance, rehabilitate, reconstruct taxiway B and hangar taxi lanes, construct aviation mechanic shop, snow removal equipment building, purchase snow removal equipment, replace runway and taxiway lighting, update airport layout plan, expand hangar area, purchase mowing equipment, adopt land use zoning ordinance, construct wildlife site assessment, justification feasibility study for runway extension, construct helipad, expand apron, extend primary runway and its parallel taxiway to 5,000 feet, including lighting, install perimeter fence, clear one-way approaches as stated in WIS Administrative Code Trans 55, and any necessary related work.
Okay. I will close the public hearings, seeing that there's no additional comment. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 2024-14.
I'll second.
Questions or discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Consider ordinance 2024-19 to amend the village's zoning regulations, Chapter 510, regarding mobile food establishments. You see Orrin's memo here from the Plan Commission. I just want to be clear on the scope of this. So there is three different types that people would think of for food trucks. One is when we have food trucks on the square for like First Fridays that the chamber puts on. That's on a public property, public right-of-way for a public event. That's an event permit. That's not what we're talking about here. Then there is, I have a food truck, it is parked in my driveway, I'm having a birthday party, and it is for people I invite. That is a private thing on a private property. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about in this ordinance, I put something as a business on private property for public use. So let's just say the brewery put that, or a church did a fundraiser or an event or something. That's what this is about. So we were trying to be very narrow in what we were trying to address here.
I thought Orrin had a good example with the brewery by his neighborhood. So yeah, that really kind of cleared it up when I was watching that. And you guys really put a lot of work into this. It was on your agenda for many, many, many weeks.
Yes,
So
and keep in mind too, we have had one restaurant in the village ask about doing this. Nobody else has asked about this. And so my point was, if we got something wrong here, we'll change it again. So let somebody come and complain.
I did want to note, when the Plan Commission approved this, part of the motion was to make sure that signage was allowed. So Orrin had reviewed the ordinance, and the language in red under J5 was added after the Plan Commission meeting, but that was the Plan Commission's intent. I just wanted everybody to be clear.
Yeah, thank you.
That's been added.
Yeah, that was Scott's motion on that, so that's memorialized.
I'll make a motion to approve ordinance 2024-19.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any questions or discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, into staff reports, municipal court for November. Any questions or comments? I think Forty already got his question answered before the meeting. November financial report.
Miscellaneous revenues, what was a big jump?
That's the interest earnings.
Okay, on to committee reports. Booth Lake minutes from October 18th. Joe, anything you want to highlight?
Just that we had signed Sean and Bonnie for another season, so we're good there. Otherwise, pretty quiet. Not cold enough for the ice rinks. I know we have those 2 ice rinks, so not yet. But we got a meeting Wednesday, so.
Other questions? All right. Airport Advisory Committee minutes from November 11th. Jim, anything you want to highlight?
February 11th, there'll be a open house starting at 5 o'clock here at the Village Hall. All are invited.
How are you going to get planes in here?
We're working with Jason on that. We've got some wall removal.
Thank you.
We're going to try to get that done before the painting.
That sounds good.
Might have to up the insurance to 6.
And we'll continue Monday night at the Improv here. East Troy Lions Public Library minutes from November 12th. Mary, anything you want to highlight? Any questions for Mary? Okay. I will make a motion to adjourn to closed session pursuant to Wisconsin Statute 1985E for the purpose of deliberating or negotiating the purchasing of public properties, investing of public funds, or conducting other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session. Offer to purchase property 2711 Main Street, proposed development agreement, proposed agreement with school district.
Second that?
Roll call vote, please.
President Johnson?
Yes.
Trustee Renucci?